Hi, my name is Trainmaster04, and today in this video I'll be taking a look at Lionel's 2021 Volume 2 catalog, and in fact, this will be actually part 1 of going through the catalog, where I'll be going through specifically the Legacy section, both Steam and Diesel, and also Scale Rolling Stock, whereas in part 2, I'll be going through all of the non-scale section and traditional products that Lionel has to offer, buildings, and also the American Flyer section of this catalog. So, let us begin. Now, as you can see, the catalog cover looks very nice, and staying to Lionel's more modern side of products, you can see we are inside the cab of, presumably, the Amtrak's streamlined locomotive, the Acela, or of some other kind. But anyway, let's move forward. News-wise, there is not very much, but except Lionel is still advertising that they are having the new voice control on their Bluetooth app, and also a few other things here and there about the Bluetooth app. Moving on into O-Scale, as you can see on this first page, there is already some excitement building up due to a new product, which is finally a Decapod, a first time ever in the Lionel field, but not just any Decapod, but instead the Strasbourg number 90 Decapod. Now, these Decapods are actually in fact legacy, but also in the brass hybrid category, which means these locomotives have a die-cast base, wheels, but the boiler and tender shells are instead made out of brass, and all of the finer details are also made of brass. Now, for some details specific for these models have a presumably MSRP price of $1,900, and also will be equipped with Lionel's Legacy Bluetooth, whistle steam, main smokestack smoke effect, and also other features such as bioluminescent marker lights and a few other features. Now, as you can see, Lionel is offering a very wide range this go-around for a very brand new product, such as the original Great Western number 90, the early 1990s Strasbourg 90, the 2000s version, the 1967, and also 2020 version, which is the current status of the Strasbourg number 90 today, the 2000s rendition of the Great Western number 90, and also two other road names in the form of the Seaboard Airline number 525 and the Osage, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, Railway number 10. And also an unpainted brass die-cast pilot version for the same price. Now, to add even more interest to this set, Lionel is also offering some brand new 64-foot wood-sided passenger cars. Now, you may be wondering, these passenger cars are these passenger cars from MTH? Well, yes, they are. When MTH announced that they were going to be closing their doors, MTH decided, well, might as well go and downsize our tooling fleet, and as a result, most of them were put up for the highest bidder, and fortunately, Lionel was able to get a good amount of it, both to be put into their legacy range, and also a few other products, which this catalog also covers. Now, as you can see, Lionel is offering a wide variety of 2-packs for the Strasbourg Railroad passenger cars, and as you can see, the price looks like to be about $400 per 2-pack, and in total, Lionel is offering 3 1990s versions and also 3 2000 versions. Now, to even add a little bit more spice to your passenger train, Lionel is also offering 2 scale 19-inch observation cars, one being the Paradise observation car, and then also the observation car number 10 from the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad. Moving on, Lionel, being very typical in this catalog, as you will see, is coming back with the typical Union Pacific, Southern Pacific style of consolidation, but in a more updated legacy features and also many more road schemes. For example, Lionel is offering a Santa Fe, Buffalo Creek, and Golly, and again, if I pronounce that incorrectly, please do forgive me, the Maine Central, Chesapeake and Ohio, New York Central, and also Western Pacific. Overall, I have seen these models go for a very nice, hefty price, or go very well, and be sold, especially at $750. I really think these will sell quite well, considering that the first run of these consolidations turned out to be quite well. Moving on, as you can see, the trend of reissues still continue. As you can see, we have yet even more AC-12 cab Fords, but in an even more delightful flavor of different road names and also paint schemes. For example, all of them are Southern Pacific, but I guess I should say different paint schemes, such as a black tender version of a Southern Pacific, a 4281, and also the famous 4294 in the typical black paint scheme. And then on the more colorful side, Lionel is also bringing back the Daylight, a Lark version, and then also something that is a little bit new that was first released in Lionel's, let me think, that would have been the 2020 Volume 1 or Volume 2 catalog in their Line Master lineup of AC-12 cab Fords. And as you can see, it's going to be a gray boiler. And as you can also see, the price tag on these will be a hefty $2,000. But since these locomotives are quite big, very popular, and since they will have updated electronics within them, I think that is fairly reasonable considering that you'll probably get a better discount from a dealer. Moving on, here you can see we have yet another reissue of the famous 9000 class from the Union Pacific Railroad. As you can see, we have 4 standard black 9000s, and then also another gray Union Pacific 9000 in a nice, delightful white and gray paint scheme. Now, similar to the predecessor 9000s, these locomotives are equipped with whistle steam and also are equipped with the brand new Legacy Rail Sounds boards, Legacy boards, and also the bioluminescent marker lights. For this price tag, here you can see they have a reasonable price tag of $1,700. Moving on. Here you can see the 9000 class still continues, but instead of more Union Pacific, Lionel is also offering them an even more different road names and interesting paint schemes, such as the Chesapeake and Ohio, Milwaukee Road, Denver, Rio Grande, and Western in the green boiler, which I personally do like, the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle, and then finally something that is a little bit unique, a Southern Pacific 9000, but in a unique green boiler and green cylinder paint scheme, which personally I have no idea if that is actually quite prototypical, but I imagine it is, or it could be just another what if, like the Southern Pacific or any of these other road names even having a 9000 class in general. And now we move on to the Legacy Diesel section of the catalog. And similar to the steam locomotives, Lionel is bringing back some of their classic diesel locomotives and also in some more bright colors. For example, as you can see, we have some Norfolk Southern, BNSF, Conrail, and also your typical CSX, and one newcomer, the, excuse me, I'm going to probably butcher these pronunciations left and right. This one, I'm not going to even try, I'm sorry. And something that I do like about this specifically, this Burlington Northern, it is really nice. I like how they gave it the war bonnet feel, but with the Burlington Northern Santa Fe on the side in the dark Brunswick green with cream and red striping. That is a nice touch. Next, we have SD45s in the typical paint schemes that you might think of. Norfolk and Southern, Burlington Northern, Pensy, Milwaukee Road, and then also a EMD and Guilford Springfield Terminal. And for the price tag, I honestly think they are quite typical. $500 for SD45s and then $650 for SD70 Max. Moving on, here you can see we have the DD35s making a comeback with the even more Union Pacific paint schemes and also even some more unusual paint schemes such as the Santa Fe Yellow Bonnet or the Freight paint scheme, and also the Alaska paint scheme is making a comeback to the DD35 lineup of diesel locomotives, and for the price tag of $700, I think that is quite reasonable since you are getting a locomotive that is 22 inches long and can have a minimum curve radius of 0.42 or 0.54, excuse me, and for what it's worth, I think that is quite reasonable. Moving on, we have some legacy diesel switchers in a nice variety of colors, such as the Santa Fe, BNSF, Rio Grande, and a few others here and there. For the price tag, you can see it is decently priced at $550. Now we're getting into some new tooling for Lionel, and in this case, it is going to be the C-liner. Now, I did have to do a little bit of research on the C-liners since I typically am not a diesel fan and also a diesel modeler, but thankfully Lionel was able to give us a bit of a history lesson over here in their information column. Now, as you can see, the C-liners was a typical concept model for the Fairbanks Moors to specifically give a railroad what they want and be able to take a base model of diesel locomotive, customize it to whatever they need. For example, a railroad could have a 4-6 truck wheel arrangement, or even just a 4-4 truck wheel arrangement, depending on what the railroad needed. Overall, I think these locomotives are a nice little flair and a bit of a nice little touch, considering that lately Lionel has not really dove into any new products, but since this is a new catalog, it is always nice to see something new. Moving on, you can see we also have another C-liner in the New Haven paint scheme with some nice New Haven passenger cars in their black and orange paint scheme. Moving on to Legacy's special sets, here you can see we have an SD70 MAC set, in this case a coal hauling set with 6 coal cars and 1 SD70 MAC. And as you can see, for the price tag of $900, I really do think that is actually quite a good deal, considering if you do the math, for a 4-pack it would cost you $360, and then for a SD70 MAC it would cost you, if I could get over there we go, it would cost you $650. Now, I am no expert in math, and currently, since I'm on my summer break, I'm not too sharp on math right now, but in consideration, that would be probably near $1,000 when it's all said and done, and since this is $900, you'll probably be able to save a few bits of money by buying the whole set all together instead of piecing it together. Continuing on with this set section, you can see we have a Burlington Northern Hustle Muscle Freight set, which includes a flat car with an MTH fire truck, a I can't think today, sorry, a box car, a hopper car, and also a caboose, which looks like to have actually the Wi-Fi cupola cam feature within it. Now, the price for this set is right at $1,100, and considering that it has a cupola cam caboose, a fire truck, and also some other cars and new products, I consider this to be also a fairly good deal. Continuing on, here you can see we have a colorful set to be whole right in front of us, and it is the Cambria and India Bicentennial Coal Train set with one of the new switchers and also 4 2-bay coal hoppers and a normal caboose right at the end. Now, again, for the price, this will set you back right at $1,000 for pre-order, and considering that it is a switcher with some nice die-cast 2-bay hoppers, I think that is a good deal. Moving on, here you can see we have yet another set, and as you can see, Lionel has really gone out to be producing a lot of these sets, and here we finally have a steam set, and it is the Grand Canyon Railway Steam Passenger Set with 4 18-inch, let me just double check, with your typical scale passenger cars, which are actually the 19-inchers, okay, with one of the new consolidations in the Grand Canyon paint scheme. Now, for the total price of 4 passenger cars, the locomotive, altogether, it will cost you right at $1,300. Now, personally, this is a very tempting set for me to get because I actually did do the math on this, and for a 2-pack of passenger cars at the going rate, it'll be $400 per 2-pack, and since there are 4 passenger cars in total, you'll be spending $800 in total for 4 passenger cars, and since the locomotives themselves are $750, it would be roughly $1,500 worth of set for $1,300. Now, since dealers do typically have their pre-order prices quite low for discounts, I would highly see these sets going off the shelves quite quickly. And here we go, we have yet even more passenger cars, and also getting into the passenger and freight section of the catalog. And as you can see, we have yet even more MTH tooled 64-foot wooden passenger cars. And as you can see, we have Pennsylvania and also the Boston and Maine. Now, personally, these do look very nice in my opinion, and for the price tag, as I said earlier, it is right at $400. Continuing on, here you can see we have some more 4-door high cube boxcars and another flavorful way of paint schemes such as Penn Central, Canadian National, and a few others. And even some graffitied ones. So for those of you who have modern era railroads and want to make your yard, say, on the Union Pacific or somewhere around there where there is possibly some high crime, you can then go and spice it up with some realistic graffitied cars. And something new for Lionel that hasn't really been seen before is the Hobo Soundbox cars, which are your typical scale USRA PS1 boxcars, but with a bit of a nice little touch. For example, you have 2 hand-painted hobos sitting on the outside of the car itself, but also Lionel has added the freight sounds feature to these boxcars and a few special hobo dialogue when the car is stopped, say, at its next destination or for the next hobo jump. And I'll probably be getting one of those in the near future. Moving on, here you can see we have yet another assortment of freight cars such as AAR 2-bay hopper in a 2-pack configuration with Santa Fe, New York Central, Norfolk and Western, Pittsburgh, and Shamut. Man, I'm really pronouncing these really bad. Sorry about that. And the Reading. And then also some more cylindrical covered hoppers. Moving on, you can see we have some more of those flat cars with MTH tooled fire trucks, which look really nice in my opinion. Another slew of cupola cam cabooses and even more nice paint schemes and also road names. And sticking to the cabooses, we also have yet another MTH tooled product, which is the CA-1 caboose, and yet another flavorful amount of paint schemes and also road names. For example, most of them are Union Pacific in the typical brown paint scheme that you would see from them, the yellow paint scheme, and also a Drive with Care Everywhere white Union Pacific caboose, a Southern Pacific to possibly put behind one of the new AC-12s, and then the Great Western Railway caboose in a beautiful bright yellow and red with a hint of white on top of the roof caboose, which could look good behind one of the Strasbourg number 90 or even the Great Western number 90 210Os. And also on the other side, here you can see we have some standard O modern boxcars to continue to add to your modern fleet. Here, as you can see, on the next page we have a whole section of standard O rotary gondola 2-packs and also 4-packs to add to your collection. Now, if you are particular on a road name, Lionel is currently offered the CSX, Norfolk and Southern, the Pennsylvania, and Union Pacific on both the 2-pack and 4-pack arrangement. And folks, that is it for the part 1 section of this series of looking through Lionel's new catalog, and stay tuned for part 2 where we will continue to dive into the brand new catalog, but this time on the O-gauge side of stuff, buildings, and even the American section of this catalog. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.